I have a question for you. What would you give to know that every single time you turn on your trading screens, no matter what is going on in the markets, you have an edge that 99% of other traders don't have? The information that you need to trade with that level of confidence is actually available to you right now via every single trading platform under the sun for free. It's just that no one has ever taught you how to find it or how to read it. I'm talking about tape reading, which is the subject of the interview that you're about to watch. I'm Charlie Bathgate. I'm the CEO of Sangalucci.com and WallStreetJesus.com, and we are the creators of the Sangalucci Master Course, which is the place where traders go to learn tape reading and options trading. If you are a serious trader and you are committed and ready to take your trading to the next level, you owe it to yourself to consider tape reading. Go to the description of this video and set up a call with a member of our team to learn more about the Sangalucci Master Course. The next live session starts in just a couple weeks, and this is the last time that we are giving away lifetime access to the course when you sign up. So now is the time to do it. Okay, enjoy the interview.
Now I got the shade.
All right, you all good? We ready to go live?
I'm good. I'm ready, man.
Let's do it. All right. Let me just load this fucking thing. It's going to give me the option to go live. Okay. All right, we are going live. Sweet. We are live. Raunch, what's up?
Awesome. What's up?
I love this, man.
Kicking it from the Kona crib.
Yeah, we'll give some context for this view. This is the third episode in our Everything is Tape series. I'm Charlie Bathgate. I'm the CEO of Sangalucci.com and WallStreetJesus.com, and I am joined by Ron Friedman, who is the founder of TradingThePost.com, one of our partners in everything that we do here, part of the fam, and the interview subject for today. So, Ronch, say what's up.
What's up from Kona? Very excited. I'm in a different vibe mode here. So you might get a different ranchero here. This is my chill vibe for sure.
If you can already tell that Ranch is in a different place, a different mindset than the rest of us losers who are sitting in our home offices or surrounded by trading screens, Ranch is on a different level. He's operating on a different level right now, so in a lot of different ways. So Ranch is coming in. He's gracious enough to join us from his house in Hawaii. We don't do the whole lifestyle promotion thing here. We really could if we wanted to. I give Ron shit about this all the time because if we wanted to promote his lifestyle and have him doing YouTube videos from poolside saying that people could make millions doing what he does and live his life, we'd probably have 10x the following that we have. We don't do that shit, but Ronch really does ball out. This is the truth of his life.
Do you want a quick view of the back of the casa real quick?
Yeah, do it, man. Give the people what they want.
Here you go. There you go.
There you go, dude.
That's the casa. That's the Kona crib.
Kona crib. New.
And here's a little ocean view. I like the ocean view. It's my happy vibe.
What happens, people, when you put in the work? You gotta work for it. So this is the third episode in our series, in our Everything is Tape series, as I just said. And today we were talking to Ranch because he is an incredible example of somebody who had an existing approach to the markets and then integrated tape reading into it. And I always say it was like someone put his trading on steroids when that happened. So we're going to go through how Ranch uses tape reading in combination with the other ways that he, his existing sort of approach to options, basically what he took from his mentorship and his experience learning from Lucci, and then how he applies that today, and probably go through one or two trade examples as well. So this is going to be a good conversation. And Ranch, I think let's just start out with let's set the scene. It was like 2016, 2017 when we met you, right? When you kind of came into our community. Yeah. How were you trading at the time? Like what was your approach to options at the time?
So my original mentor, who was a market maker, pretty much raised me on, and this was back before there were a lot of opportunities with weeklies. So it was mostly, hey, we're looking for consistent long-term, and the market was in a spot where we were obviously just trending higher, right? So it was post the 2008-9 crash, and I had some crazy success and some crazy blow up, right? So there was that stuff going on, and I had to find a way to sustain. So my mentor, who was a market maker, basically taught me, here's how we use technicals, and here's how you use some flows of volume to kind of figure out, are you in a good spot to look at placing a trade with some time, but using options as opposed to using equity. So, what we're doing is it's basically stock replacement, right? So we're just finding places off of technical levels, which works by and large well if you're trading in the direction of the trend. Technicals are fine. They're one piece of the puzzle, and they work well, but they're trumped, right? They're trumped by news. They're trumped by market moving events, by black swan events, things that you don't see coming, catalyst events such as earnings, or, for example, today when the Fed raises and everybody has a prediction, right? Oh, we're going up 85, we're at 25 basis points. 85% of people see, we're going up. That's fine. And you're at technical levels where that stuff makes sense. But how else are you gonna be more confident and or good at placing your entries or exits? And when I met Lucci and he taught me about tape, one of the things that Lucci is phenomenal at that I still cannot do is he can come in the morning, he can look at flow, make a determination on direction, catch that direction, and catch flow. What I'm really good at is combining the technical levels with level 2. So if I can say this is an area where I'm interested in change, and we're talking about all kinds of technical indicators to help us look for spots. We're talking about Fibonacci's, we're talking about moving averages, we're talking about VWAP and anchored VWAP that Brian Shannon teaches. We use a combination of these things, and then we can go to level 2 when we need to. And when I learned how to actually read level 2, I didn't want to sit there and read level 2 all day. It was too intensive for me. But what I could do was I could say, oh, the light bulb went on. Shit, I have these technical levels, and I noticed that at these technical levels, oftentimes things change. And if I can spot it on tape, I can catch direction. And that's where things blew up. That's where things were just like, whoa, look at this. Now I have great probability in this particular trade, regardless of what time frame I'm looking at. So that's where, gas hit the fire.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you all are hearing, Ronch say level 2 and stuff like that, and you're saying, what the hell is he talking about? I encourage you to go to the first interview in this series that I did with Lucci. He talks a lot about the fundamentals of what tape reading is, time and sales, and level 2. So go check that out. We also have a bunch of stuff about tape reading on our YouTube channel. That breaks down the basics of it. Okay, so Ronch, how long do you think it took you to start integrating the level 2 into your actual day-to-day trading?
I think that it probably took I'm sorry, Charlie, can you hang on 1 second?
Yeah.
Okay. So
we got a pool guy trying to get your attention.
I'm sorry, I can't talk right now.
Right.
Sorry, will you repeat the question?
Yeah. I was asking just how long does it take for you to start integrating the level 2 into your trading?
It took me, here's a great thing about the masterclass is that, once you sign up for it, you can come back as many times as you want. And the first time I took it and the first time I learned level 2, there were moments where I thought I had it, right? And that probably was like the first couple of weeks in during the course, or, whether it was like, whatever I was looking at, I was like, oh, I got it. And then it went away, or I wasn't reading it right. And it took me months. It took me months to finally figure out, oh, if I just use tape in the spots where I'm looking for change, I can read it. And that took me about 6 months, and it took me a couple of master course classes to really have it cement in. So if you look at it on the short end, There was some stuff that I was able to catch on to quickly. It took about 3 or 6 months to connect the dots with, oh, this shit works at the technical levels. And then it took me a couple of more courses to really have it be more solid. But that's just me. I'm the kind of guy that I have to learn a process and go over a process for I don't know how many times, right? Like a long time. Like all of my buddies in college would read, the homework assignments and shit and be done for the day at 6, 7 o'clock. Whereas my dumbass is reading the same paragraph 8 times before it sets in, and then it's midnight and I'm like, well, fuck, I just got through a chapter. So the way that I learn is to just be face down in, repeat, and then finally it clicks. Other people look at stuff like this and they're like, oh yeah, I got it. Like engineer brains, like they latch onto this stuff pretty quickly. So everybody's different, but that was my experience with it.
Yeah. And yeah, just to throw out here, y'all, Ronch was saying, when you take the master course, you get lifetime access to the classes. That is true for this time around, for this session of the master course, but that's the last time. This is the last time that we're doing lifetime access. So, just throwing it out there. If you want that lifetime access, now is the time to get in. Next live session starts on April 10th. So, now's the time to get involved. But yeah, I mean, Ronch, I'm glad you brought that up and you spoke to your experience, because we have people who they start learning tape and they read tape and they're like, okay, I get this, and it clicks into place pretty quickly. And, I know you have worked with you for years, and you're somebody who is like, if you're going to do something, you want to understand not 98% of it, not 99% of it, like 100% of it. You like things to be dialed in to a T and just no gaps in your knowledge of it, right? So it doesn't surprise me that you were like, like it took, a couple months at least for you to feel like you were at that point where it was like so dialed in and locked in for you. And that just speaks to everybody has their own journey with this shit, right? Their own experience with it. Everybody has their own pace that they go at.
Yep. So I think, it just depends on it. I guess the other thing for me too is that, I have, without a doubt, ADHD. And if I don't learn something 100% and I don't put everything I have into it, I simply won't learn it. I mean, I just, and I don't mean it from fuck it, I'm not going to learn it. I mean, I'm not capable of learning it unless I pull it all apart and put everything back together and then repeat that process. Otherwise it doesn't stick, which is probably why, it's probably one of the key ingredients to my personal success, because there were plenty of times when I was a lot younger where I didn't put effort in and it was like instant failure, right?
Yep.
So it's for me, it has been as much effort as I've put in has given me the results that I've wanted and gotten me to where I'm at. And that's it, just hard work. Not everybody is built the same way. Other people just catch on to stuff. And they've got, brains like that. That's just not me. I have to pound the rock again and again and again to get it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then you were talking about using level 2 when you started using level 2. Like nowadays, when you're watching the level 2 and you're, looking at key levels and you're kind of looking to calibrate your entries and your exits to get that timing, what are you looking at on the level 2? Like, what are you looking for?
Well, just like what Lucci is pointing out is if at a level, let's just use generics, right? So something very simple to do is to say the 200-day moving average, or SMA. That is where larger institutions like to get involved in whatever the underlying equity is, right? So we're looking at those specific areas to see, hey, are there buyers here or are there sellers here? And you can see that in the level 2 by, for example, if there's an order that repeats itself again and again and again at a specific price in a specific direction, right? It might be buyers repeating again and again and again and again. It might be sellers repeating again and again and again. And if you're paying attention at those areas or those levels, oftentimes you can spot or catch an anomaly or an increase in the activity and the number of shares, aka volume, in that particular spot, right? And oftentimes what happens, let's say at the 200, especially for those looking for a breakout in a downward trending market, what happens? Everybody thinks, oh, we're good to go here and we're going to jump in long. And what you see are things like either the market maker or some other institution that has an agenda. Let's say their agenda is to get out of a particular stock, and as you're breaking above the 200, what are they doing? They're flipping stock to the traders that are chasing. And then of course when they run out of that supply, the bottom falls out, right? And then all of the stops get run. So you can see those footprints forming on the level 2.
Yep. Got you. And do you find that there are times when you come in with a trade thesis and then you pull up the level 2 and it disconfirms your trade thesis, like a trade that you were about to take? You're like, no, not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect system, right? And it's trading and there are losses. And the key, in my opinion, is to look for the areas where you can see or where change would be expected so that you can take a trade in whatever direction that you're looking at and whatever time frame that you're looking at, and to look at it and say, listen, if I do this here, if I'm going to take a loss, I'm going to have a small loss because I'm in a place where there's likely to be change, right? And the other side is if I'm in the right place where there's likely to be change and I do catch that direction, then the probability of success in that spot is very high. So the combination of the two, and then being able to see, it's just experience, and it's why I just, follow a handful of names. And when I look at the level 2, we can start to recognize, oh, okay, we see this activity repeat itself again and again. This looks like a trap, right? Or this looks like it's about to be a stop hunt. You start to be able to recognize those things because they repeat and you see them again and again, and you'll see it in level 2. And sometimes you don't have to sit there and read the tape line by line. What you recognize or what you see is, hey, I've watched this before. I've seen this happen. And the opposite of what we believe is about to happen because they've done it before, and they've done it before in the same spot, and they keep doing it. Right? And that's where, and then that comes into that whole conversation of people saying, "Oh, the market's manipulated. You can't trade it," or you can't pick tops and you can't pick bottoms, which largely is true. But you can pick places of probability and areas where level 2 give you hints as to whether you're going to be in the right spot or not, and then it's up to you to adjust. Hey, I got it right. Hey, I didn't get it right, and then. A lot of times the level 2, I don't need to sit there and watch it once I'm in the right spot. Once I get the right spot and I get what I'm looking for, then I just let the trade take care of itself.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Lucci uses the tape basically from the beginning to the end of his trade, and he's like watching it to, determine, should I go heavier? Should I get out? It sounds like you are more like, I use it for my entry, I use it to inform my exit, but you're not like, when you're in a position, you're not sitting there watching the level 2 throughout.
Correct. I'm looking for it in spots because it's for me, it's mentally taxing to sit there and read line by line for, an entire morning or an entire day. I think it is for Lucci too, because, after the first hour and a half, oftentimes Lucci's like, all right, that's my sweet spot. That's where I perform the best. I'm done. Whereas I'll sit around and I'll wait for levels. And there are often times where I'll be in the same trade as Lucci, and Lucci just looks at it and he's like, I don't like it. I'm out. And I'm like, hey, listen, you're good, and you're good until this area, right? And because Lucci doesn't have he doesn't like the types of levels or how I not how I go about coming up with it, but I think he looks at it and he's like, listen, your levels are fine, but I don't want to sit here for another 4 hours to wait for this last dollar. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas I'll sit there and I'll wait for the last dollar. So that's how I go about it differently. It's just a different style.
It's a perfect example of how two traders who are trading the same name, the same instruments, can go about it completely differently and both kill it, Yep. And that's why, we have people who come in and they're like, yeah, but if I learn from Lucci, am I going to trade exactly like Lucci? If I learn from Ronch, am I going to trade exactly like Ronch? And the answer is not sexy, but the answer is always no. You're going to trade the way that it works for you, the way that this makes sense for you, and that's part of what we teach you how to do.
Exactly.
Do you find that you have gotten to know the tape in certain names that you're like you pull up, I don't know, Nvidia tape, and you're like, yeah, this feels different to me than if you're looking at, another type of tape?
Well, Nvidia is interesting right now, and semis are interesting right now. And, I always say that semiconductors are kind of the lifeblood of the tech world. It's similar to the way oil is the lifeblood of, modern machinery and how we live our lives today. Semiconductors touch everything, right?
Right.
So it used to be that semis were kind of cyclical, and they're not anymore. So when semiconductors are raging and people are trying to short them, and I'm a victim of this too, like you can't just go in there and pound away just because you think something is like too high, right? It is okay to take shots like that, but if you keep repeating, and then what you'll notice, let's say on level 2 and or option flow, is that whoever's doing the buying just keeps coming back. Like right now in Nvidia, they don't care. They're just buying the shit out of it. And It's similar in other names, right? So that's probably, from a big picture view, conspiracy theory, et cetera, that's probably what's keeping and propping the market up where it's at right now. I mean, from a technical standpoint, we're trying to combine these different layers to give us a theory and or a thesis. And on any given day, you can come in and think direction. You've got direction right, and the market says you don't have it right. And the level 2 kind of gives you the clue as to, hey, we understand that, what you want to do, but the market doesn't care. And all of these buyers are telling you you're wrong. And if you continue to ignore them, and if level 2 is telling you, hey, here come all of the buys, here comes all of they don't care. They just keep bidding the price up, right? You'll see on level 2, okay, stock is trading at, $3.50 and 50 cents. Okay, there go, 5,000 shares. Bam, now it just jumps right up to, 60 cents. Bam, the next guy jumps up to 75 cents. Bam, it jumps up $1, right? And then it's a chase, right? And then these guys are like, I got to buy stock today. So, in those instances, if you're trying to short and you get squeezed like that, you really, if you're missing it on level 2 by watching these orders go ripping by, you can just sit there and watch a chart and wonder, and just be upset, right? And literally when something gets in a zone and you're on the wrong side of it, you have to shut it down. If you don't, you just sit there and you watch, small accounts, bam, $1,000. There goes $1,200. There goes $3,000. There goes $5,000, right? And if you're a large account and you're stubborn, you're like, at the end of the day, you're down $125,000. Like that's not sustainable. You have to be able to see when you're wrong, and level 2 will show you that if you know what to look for.
Yep. Beautifully said. I'm wondering if we can go through just like a recent trade maybe to kind of illustrate the example of your process and where tape comes in to it. A recent trade that you took down.
So again, if you recall, I like to use a combination of technical indicators as well as, the level 2. And one of the trades that we repeat again and again and again and again is Boeing. We write iron condors on Boeing. Why? Because it's stuck in a trading range. And we have a method for adjusting either side of that iron condor based on where Boeing is going for that particular day. Because Boeing will test the upper end and the lower end of its range often. And it can be news driven. Right now, technically, it looks like it's hanging by a thread. There are a lot of things that we need to keep an eye on, but level 2 helps determine which way we're going. So, for example, what we do on these Boeing condors is if we get direction up or down, we convert one side of the iron condor, take care of our shorts, and then buy them back to follow that direction based on what we're seeing in level 2. So we do this weekly on Boeing, and at least once a week or once every other week, Boeing will make a move in a direction, either up or down, or sometimes both in the same week. And when that starts to happen, we will see it on level 2, where all of a sudden you're like, okay. And what they love to do on Boeing is they love to come in with options on either side. And I swear to God, all it is a trap. So, for example, if calls come ripping in on Boeing, you can almost bet on when it reaches the technical level to the upside that they just pull the rug and boom, you just come running right back down. And as we're looking at level 2, you can see all the sell orders coming in, which triggers me to go and take care of the shorts on the put side, buy them back to close, and then buy the same strike or a closer strike to open and capture the move. And the move typically right now, the move lasts like a day. Like you'll get the move in a day and you take the trade off and we rinse repeat. And if we didn't have levels and level 2 to look at, you can get torn up in Boeing fast. People have a very difficult time trading it.
Yep. That makes sense. And I think a lot of the people from Trading the Post who are part of your, service, who are in there trading with you every day, have seen like how it's cool for them to see when you go live, and you're pulling up tape and they have, firsthand view of, the levels that you're looking at. And then, okay, let's bring tape into this equation. Let's pull this up and let's see, what we're going to do to, whether or not we're going to take the next step in this. And it's exactly what you said, where momentum in this thing is going right now to calibrate the trade itself.
And we teach people how to fish. And if you're in TTP and you just take the TTP course, you get level 2, but you don't get level 2 to the depth of what Lucci teaches. And we teach people how to fish. We don't hold their hand through each and every trade. So if there are traders that can't read level 2, or they're working on reading level 2, we definitely help in Trading the Post. Say, okay, listen, we get that you can't read it or that you're struggling with it. This is the area for you to pull it up and start looking at it. So we kind of teach people where it's important for them to be paying attention to it and what to look for in that activity. Yeah.
And a lot of people who are in Trading the Post on a monthly basis, took the master course and they were like, all right, Ranch is my guy. I want to be with him and, have him kind of be my coach on an ongoing basis. And one of the reasons why that's true is because you are so good at managing risk. And, I think one of the reasons we asked you to come on and be an educator in the master course and be part of, what we do is because you brought that skill set. You bring that skill set in of risk management where you are just, it's like once a month that everyone in our company is sitting around and we're talking about, whatever the hell. And someone is just like, I just can't believe how small Ranch's losses are, like all the time. Like he's just keeps his losses so dialed in. And I mean, you've essentially spoken to this so far, but this is really the thing that eats away at most traders, especially in the first few years of their career, is the one or two big losses that just takes them out at their knees and takes away all the gains they've made for the year. How do you feel like tape helps you manage risk on an ongoing basis?
So again, it comes down to what's the time frame of the trade that you're in. Have you combined the technical areas that you're interested in or looking for that activity, looking for that change? And when you get to that spot and you can learn how to read the level 2, the next step for you is how are you adjusting, right? So everything is dictated by what is the trade that you're currently in. It's not just all scalp, right? For us, it's scalp, it's day trade, meaning, hey, we might take something overnight or for a few days. We might be in something for like a week, for example, like an Iron Condor on Boeing. We might be in something swing for, let's say, 45 or 60 days, and we might be in something long-term, 12 months or more. And tape in combination with those levels helps dictate to us what kind of adjustments we can make based on that time frame.
Yeah. Got you. We got a question from someone in the YouTube Live. You mentioned you look at a handful of stocks for level 2. Can you mention your top 5?
So Boeing for sure, Tesla. Sometimes, a lot of times SPY. But SPY, for me, SPY tape is very, very difficult to read. A lot of times I'm using more technical indicator to trade SPY, and I'll use a combination of VWAP, anchored VWAPs, anchoring off of the high and the low for the day and looking for a break either higher or lower. And when you can find that in combination with, let's say, with flow and tape, sometimes you can have an advantage there, right? But that's not always the easiest one to look at. I would say we look a lot at Nvidia and Applied Materials. And then probably Microsoft is on the radar. And there's a few others that are on the radar now because they're at technical levels that now we'll start paying more attention to. So like Costco is a good example of one that's at technical levels that we'll start paying closer attention to.
Once it get to those levels, you mean it kind of gets put on your watch list and you're like, we could start.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll look at a daily chart just to get an idea of, okay, where is this thing at technically? Put aside all of the fundamental reasons to like something long or short. Technically, is it in a spot where I could have some probability? And if I look and I decide, yes, okay, what's the next step? Look at the level 2. Is there a lot of activity for either buying or selling on that particular issue, right? So that's where I'm that's where it dials me in to be focused. That's it.
Right. The level 2 is, you mean, dials you in to be focused.
Again, I'm different than Lucci because I will use the combination. I'll use the combination of technical plus tape. The technical tell me where to go look at the tape. The tape I'm looking at to say, okay, do I have advantage here or not?
Right. And if this isn't abundantly clear thus far in this interview, I hope that y'all have picked up at this point, like, you can be doing something. You can use technical analysis. You can have an approach, and you can still use tape reading, leverage tape reading to, supercharge or, pump up that existing strategy. So people come to sometimes and they're like, dude, I've just put in so much time to, trading the way I do with anchored VWAP or whatever. I don't want to throw it all out and learn tape. And we're like, you don't have to do that.
Right.
That's not how this works.
Yeah. You're not changing everything. You're changing a portion, right?
Right.
And actually what you're doing is you're just adding another arrow to your quiver. We like to say that. And I'm constantly looking and learning at all of, what works and what doesn't. And there's so much bullshit that's out there, or there's so much from people who are not teaching properly or really don't have as deep of an understanding, and they can give you 3/4 of the picture or 90%, but that last little bit is still evasive, right?
Yeah.
And what tape reading does is it closes that loop. And when I talked to Brian Shannon, I asked him about level 2. He said he used to read level 2 back in the day. He doesn't, for him, because he's a swing trader, he doesn't do it as much because he says he doesn't have the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you're somebody who does that and you set alerts at levels, the alerts tell you when it's time to go look at the level 2, right? So why can't you incorporate that? Like that to me is an easy addition to using some other tools, right? But if you come at me like with technical indicators like, oh, look at this is a megaphone and this is, Ichimoku cloud and blah, 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 blah. It's like, listen, those things are fine, but can you combine that with level 2 when those things are at those particular areas, or do you just only trade off of the technicals? And if that's all you trade, guess what? Everybody else out there is learning the fucking megaphone and the Ichimoku cloud and itch my ass indicator, right? Like it's all, a lot of the stuff wastes a lot of time, and it really adds to how long is your learning curve and how much money do you have before you finally figure out how to either trade and keep your losses small or get to a place to where you're actually making money. And most people spend the majority of their time losing money.
Yeah. one of the biggest places that we see people lose money is trying to trade around events. I know that FOMC raised rates, 25 basis points today. We were talking at the outset of this, Ronch didn't trade through this. He was just like, this is not the situation I want to trade through. I'm curious how Lucci talks about how tape gives him insight into whether or not news or an event matters, right? So instead of chasing headlines and being behind things, he's just watching buying and selling activity and just watching that to determine, do people give a shit about this or not? At the end of the day, that's all that matters, right?
Yep.
How do you feel like tape helps you navigate just the constant news cycle and events like this?
If an event is known and it's on the calendar, for example, today, you knew you were going to get some kind of announcement from the Fed. The thing that I find, what was difficult for me to change from after being taught this from an early age as a broker was, hey, you need to pay attention to what's happening in the world and these events and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this shit is hard. How I can't trade based on a prediction on where I think things are going to go. I mean, half the time, even if you get what you think is going to happen accurate, this shit goes the other way. So why do I want to compete with, and I can't compete with, all of the brightest minds that are in this industry, because there are some very, very smart people. And if I look over time, what happens in those, events, etc., I mean, half of them are wrong anyway, right? So why do I want to put myself into that pool of people who are competing? So do I care about the event? Yes, but I'm more concerned and I care more about what the reaction is to the event. And once the event has come and gone, can I go back? Can I look and see, hey, am I at a technical level? And by the way, traders, the market is very good at moving the overall broad market SPY to areas of support and resistance based on technicals. And then once the event happens, then all of a sudden, in hindsight, people are like, oh, yeah, well, it makes sense that they moved the friggin' market to the 200-day moving average. Well, no shit, Sherlock. That's what right? Why do I want to be involved with guessing? That's for cocktail parties. Look at how smart I am. I guessed it was going up 0.25 basis points. Pour me another gin martini. Like, fuck off with that. That doesn't help me. You know what I mean? So I need to be able to see where the reaction is. Technically, I get a good idea of, hey, does this make sense for me to look at level 2? And do I have an advantage based on what time frame I want to be in this trade? That it's as simple as that, but it's very difficult to execute if what you're trying to do is contradictory, right? Like if you're like, well, I think XYZ is going to happen because Jay Powell is going to make out with Janet Yellen tonight, right? Like,
wow, that is like a violent image that is now in my head.
It's a bad visual, isn't it?
Yeah, get that.
It's a bad visual.
That fucking out of here, dude.
But there are so many people that try to do that. So for me, it's like, no, I'm gonna wait. It's the same thing with earnings. If I'm in something long term, and over time, what we do is, we get our long term positions paid for by trading the activity around the underlying position. If I'm paid for and or protected, I will ride through an earnings event, right? I will ride through an investor meeting. If that doesn't bother me. But to trade that event for a specific direction is madness. I don't know why people do that.
Yeah. What you just said is so key. You will trade the activity around the event, which shows up in the tape, but you are not going to make a prediction about where something is going to go coming out of an event. And it blows my mind the number of people you see who are just like, yeah, I was making a bet on earnings. It's like, why? Why are you doing that? Why?
Yep.
We got another question. Can you elaborate a little bit on those market maker footprints, which you mentioned, please? So like talking about seeing market makers, in the tape, spotting some of what they're doing.
I mean, for example, let's say like on a day like today when Nvidia is having a really strong day, right? What happens is psychologically, I think people were prepared for and looking for and wanting to get a pullback because it's had such a strong move, right? And that makes sense. So what happens? The stock starts going up. People give up on their original thesis, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to jump in long. They catch 2 or 3 points. They set a stop because most people use stops. the market maker sees all of those stops, and midway through the day or whenever it is, the market maker's like, listen, this thing is still going higher. We have all of this deep well of stock that we need to buy, but you know what? We need to clear out everybody who's in here who's trying to get a piece and has all of these stops set, and they see your stops clear as day. And guess what? Running stops is a time-honored tradition on Wall Street, and it's simply the way that the market maker takes your money and says, thank you very much. Please return to do it again so I can take your money again when you caught in this cycle. So that repeats itself again and again. Can you see it on level 2? If you're paying attention, what you'll see is the price of the stock just keeps getting artificially, whether it's artificial or not, the price keeps getting pumped, right? The market maker just has a bottomless pool of liquidity compared to you or me. So they can keep pushing as long as they want. And as soon as they get enough stop orders built up, all they have to do is pull that rug, bring it back down to a technical level. So like, on a intraday basis, like if you've got a high and a low established, you can use anchored VWAPs, you can use a Fibonacci, and you can get an idea of where they're going to pull it back to. How many times do you see it? It repeats itself again and again and again and again. So that's an example of where you would see that on level 2 is all of a sudden you're like, dude, they just keep, bidding this thing up. And eventually what happens when that euphoria just reaches a tippy top, boom, they just pull the rug and people get caught in it again and again and again. So you can't see the move about to happen on level 2, but you will see it happening in progress. And that is your key to be like, oh, I'm about to get run over. I need to get out of the way.
Yeah. Well said, sir. Well, I mean, I don't know if there's any more questions coming in. I'm not looking at the chat live, so Matt's going to pop them in here for me. But yeah, I mean, Ranch, thanks for taking us through your process. To all of you who haven't seen the first 2 episodes in this series with Sangalucci, Wall Street Jesus, highly encourage you to go back, check those out. And then on Monday, we're doing our last episode with Chris Cady coming in. So that'll be Monday after the close. Ranch, appreciate you breaking it all down. What's happening in Hawaii? What's it like? Noon? Not even noon out there, right? What is it? 11?
Yeah, something like that. I lose track of days and time out here sometimes.
No. The prep process for this was like, we were like, yo, you guys want to get on 11? And Ron would show up like 20 minutes late, be like, what time is it? Where are we? What's that? I was like, this dude's on island time, man. He's on a different fucking planet.
I'm gonna go do some night snorkeling with manta rays tonight, and allegedly there's some whale sharks hanging out back here, so I might go check those out this afternoon.
Dude, all right. I grew up in the mountains in Colorado. I don't get in water at night. All right, that is a hard rule for me. So you are a fucking brave man. Come back because you got to help teach the master course starting April 10th. And as we said, lifetime access is the last time. If you guys sign up, you get lifetime access. So take advantage of that. You can set up a call with a member of our team to learn more about it on the master course page, which will be in the description of this video. Ranch, appreciate you, man. Thanks for always coming on, breaking it down, telling it like it is.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it.
For sure. All right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right. See ya.